Hi, I'm Kayanne, and I'm here with a new set of Derwent Chromaflow colored pencils, and I have the urge to try them out, but I want to do a little more than just swatching them and have the urge to do a little bit of Christmas illustrating. I have heard good things about this brand, and there were some colors in here that I kind of wanted to round out my selection. I'm also starting a new to me Stillman and Birn sketchbook. This one is from the Nova series, which I have not used yet. And it's called the Nova Trio because it has gray, black, and tan toned papers in it, which is kind of fun to have all three in one because different ones are different for different things. This is a mixed media sketchbook, but it's apparently intended a little bit more for dry media. I also have this beautiful vintage Christmas book that I just got at a thrift store, and it has a variety of illustrations in it that I'm interested in. There's different styles, which I really like, and just some different images that I thought would be fun to kind of use as inspiration for a little sketch practicing with my colored pencils. So this year I've been kind of upping my colored pencil game and getting some little better quality and particularly more light fast selection of colored pencils. So I have several different brands I've been using. I like to have a different color selection. I've kind of been trying to figure out which ones I like. So what I'm going to do today is just pull some of the different brands I'm using. I'm not going to give you specific colors that I'm using, more just I'm kind of trying all the different brands together so I can kind of be using them side by side as I do a little illustration and compare kind of the relative merits of the different brands. I will say I'm not a colored pencil expert. I just use these mainly in conjunction with other media. I use them with my watercolor. I use them in my artwork, different ways like that. And very seldom do I just do colored pencil illustrations. But that's exactly what I'm going to do today. So I'm picking some kind of Christmas themed colors. So here I have a handful of pinks and reds, and kind of just choosing a variety of those. I'm also going to be pulling from my new Chromaflow set too as I go, and kind of comparing here some colors as well as the qualities of the pencils. So I have mainly been using Prismacolor, Holbein, Luminance by Caran d'Ache, Polychromos by Faber-Castell. I have just a few little Posca. I have Derwent drawing pencils, which are very muted earth tone colors. I'm not sure if I'll be using any of those today, but I do like them. And then these new Chromaflow, which my initial impression is that they are maybe more comparable to the Prismacolor. The Prismacolor is and the Chromaflow are the least expensive, I think, of these pencils, and they are both a soft wax-based pencil. That said, one of my biggest gripes about the Prismacolor is that they break easily. Sometimes you feel like you're wasting half the pencil when you're sharpening and they break and they're sharpening some more. I do try to be careful and sharpen more, especially those that break easily, with a hand sharpener, because I can be a little more gentle with them. The core tends to be off center, which also, is a little bit challenge sharpening, and I don't know if that contributes to them breaking or not, but I feel like the old Prismacolors, and I still have a few of like very old Prismacolors, I feel like they were better and didn't have as much breakage, but, you know, I'm not sure about that. The advantage of the Prismacolor, and even in this new Chromaflow set too, is that there's some bright and even like neon colors. You don't find neons in the more light fast, what I would consider higher quality pencil sets. I do tend to kind of avoid the Prismacolor for like when I use them in conjunction with other media for wall art, just because of light fastness. You know, I would say probably less than half of the Prismacolor range is very light fast. These new Chromaflow, I would say, I am guessing fall kind of in a similar range, because I did not find, they're called artist quality, but I did not find much about their light fast rating. They're not, at least publicizing a claim to being very light fast. That said, that makes, you know, the cheaper ones. The Prismacolor and the Chromaflow are both a wax-based and are softer. That also means, and I haven't tried the Chromaflow enough to make a decision about this, but I know the Prismacolors can develop kind of a shine that I don't like, while the oil-based pencils stay more matte even with a, you know, heavier application. So that brings me to luminance, which is what the majority of the pencils I have, I think, are probably luminance. They are expensive. They're by Caran d'Ache. They also have a little thicker barrel than both the Chromaflow and the Prismacolor, which if I'm working for a fair bit of time, I find that a little less strain on my hands. I'm starting to have a little bit of arthritis in my fingers, and gripping those smaller barrels can become a little tiresome over time. The luminance do have the highest, they're said to be 100% light fast, which is pretty impressive, I have to say. They layer nicely, they're oil-based, they have the matte finish. I don't have the trouble with breakage when I'm sharpening. And the only thing that I think some people might object is that their color line is, you know, even if you get their entire color line, they have a little more muted colors, which is not surprising for being light fast. So they don't have the neons or the super brights. They're also more pricey, and they have a firmer lead, which I tend to like because they hold a point a little longer, but some may not like that. I mean, there is something to be said for using the really soft, easy to apply ones like Prismacolor. So here I'm just kind of swatching some of those different colors. You see in my hand, I'm holding, it's hard to distinguish which ones are the Holbein and which ones are the Polychromos, because they look pretty similar. The Polychromos are by Faber-Castell, and they are also oil-based like the luminance and are fairly matte, but maybe are slightly more inclined to have a shine to them than the luminance. And their light fastness, I'm not for sure how to compare, because they have their own light fast rating. So their pencils vary. Some of the colors are more light fast than others. They do have more bright colors available in their line. So most of the Polychromos that I have, I've purchased because they filled a gap in my luminance pencils. You know, they were a color that I felt the luminance line was missing. The Holbein brand pencils are made in Japan, and they are also oil-based. They look real similar to the polychromos. Both the polychromos and the Holbein have that solid colored body, which is I kind of like because, you know, it's real apparent from no matter which way you look at it, kind of the representation of the color of the pencil. They are a little bit softer than the polychromos or the luminance, but maybe not quite as soft as the Prismacolor. They are a little harder to find locally. I usually have to order them. But my favorite, my main reason for having Holbein is their pastels. They have a very extensive line of pastel colors that I think goes beyond what the other brands have. And so I have filled in some of that pastel range with Holbein pencils. I have just a few that I think you've seen me use there of the Posca. And I only have, I don't know, just a few Posca brand pencils, and I mainly got them because I love the Posca paint pens. So I had to try the pencils. I actually don't know that much about them. I have not used them enough to have a strong impression. My main complaint about them is they also have that skinnier barrel, which I find a little bit more strained to use for long periods of time. The advantage of the skinnier barrels is that they do fit in a regular sharpener better. You can see that I'm using the Prismacolor sharpener, which I do really like, and it has big enough hole, even though Prismacolors are generally a little bit thinner, but my fatter barreled pencils do fit, but it does make a very nice point on the pencils, so I do like that sharpener for my colored pencils. Another pencil that I did not mention very much is the Derwent drawing pencils. I also really like the color. They're all very earth tone muted colors. So I am just kind of swatching these colors that I picked for specific to doing some Christmas illustrations. Like I said, I'm not going to give you exact colors. Maybe I'll do another video later if I want some favorites. I'm just trying to get a variety here to pick from. This is a Prismacolor, which I purchased just purely for the color of it. This is a luminance. You can see how nicely that show up. I feel like the colors, this is kind of a good test using them on the toned paper, because you just see how nice they lay down. And none of these are bad colored pencils. They are great, all great to use, all very enjoyable. So I feel like just, you know, it's kind of how picky you want to be. I think some of the main separating issues would be light fastness as far as quality. The other things that I personally show preference for is the size of barrel, just because of the ease on my hands. The color range is important to me. I tend to use my colored pencils. Obviously they can be blended and layered, but I tend to use them just the color it is. I want to grab the color I want and go, just in the particular way that I use colored pencils most typically. And then the matte finish of it I like. I like the oil-based better because of that. I understand the softness is fun to use. I do get very annoyed when there's a lot of breakage, because I feel like I'm wasting, you know, colored pencil then. And so I do get frustrated with that. But those are kind of the main things that I look at, or my criteria for colored pencils. But that said, I do enjoy them all. I'm pausing in my swatching here to try the blending pencil and just kind of check some of the different ones and see how they blend. I did not see, honestly, a huge difference in those. I do believe, as far as blending them out of the, like to the side of where I had actually swatched the color, I do believe the waxier ones will maybe blend out just slightly more, but it's pretty negligible, the difference in that. So from here out, I'm just going to speed things up as I do a few like Christmassy illustrations in this book, and just really put these pencils to the test. For working in my sketchbook, I'm certainly not going to worry about things like light fastness. I'm more looking at the colors that I want to use and, things like that. So it all depends on what kind of project you're doing. These Chromaflow, for now at least, am probably going to keep them separate in a tin that can be my kind of carry with me, when I want to work in my sketchbook type situation, where this other assortment of pencils will probably be more for, specific to art making. So I do like them. They seem to work fine. Again, they seem kind of along the line of a Prismacolor to me. My only real objection to them is the narrow barrel that seems hard to grip. They seem like they might be slightly narrower than the Prismacolor even. So now for a little playtime.